Senator Van Hollen has obviously got a chance to meet with him, but he had to travel to El Salvador to get any information. Does that concern you at all? I mean, these are people sent by the United, I mean, in his case, sent by the United States, and not even a U.S. senator could get any information about his whereabouts or the condition of his incarceration without actually going down and making the trip to El Salvador himself?
Well, he obviously knew his whereabouts because he went there to see him. But you know what bothers me more than that is a U.S. senator traveled to El Salvador on taxpayer dime to meet with an MS-13 gang member, public safety threat, terrorist. I mean, in the meantime, the day before he traveled, an illegal alien was arrested for murder, released to the streets rather than honoring an ICE detainer in his very own state. What concerns me is Van Hollen never went to the border the last 4 years on Joe Biden when he had a 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children. You have a record number of no-inspected terrorists crossing that border. You had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl overdose because of the open border. You had over 4,000 illegal aliens died making that journey, which is an historic record. What shocks me is he's remained silent on the travesty that happened on our southern border. Many people died. Thousands of people died. I've met with hundreds of angel moms and dads who buried their children that were murdered by an illegal alien. How many angel moms and dads has he met in the state of Maryland? That's what concerns me.
Tom Homan didn't hold back. While ABC's Jon Karl tried to steer the conversation toward showing sympathy for a U.S. senator who traveled all the way to El Salvador to meet with a known MS-13 gang member, Homan cut right through the spin and dropped the facts. He made it clear. The senator made the choice to use taxpayer-funded time to meet with someone tied to one of the most violent gangs in the world. Meanwhile, back in his home state, a murder suspect who was in the U.S. illegally had just been released onto the streets. Why? Because local officials ignored federal immigration requests. So where was Senator Van Hollen then? Where was his voice when the southern border was overwhelmed? When human trafficking cases surged by 600%? When terrorists were sneaking through? When fentanyl was flooding in and taking over 100,000 American lives? When over 4,000 migrants lost their lives trying to cross into the country? Tom Homan didn't just answer a question. He exposed a bigger truth. He showed how many political leaders seem more worried about appearances and headlines than about real people and real dangers. He reminded everyone of who's truly being impacted, the families who've lost loved ones, the parents who had to bury their children, and the Americans who feel forgotten. While the media tries to defend these questionable choices, Homan brought the attention back to where it belongs, on the people who are suffering, and on the risks that come from ignoring broken border policies. And now Senator Van Hollen won't even acknowledge if the person he met is really an MS-13. Watch closely, because that silence speaks volumes.
Now, President Trump says that some of Abrego Garcia's tattoos signify that he's a member of MS-13. In 2019, police alleged a confidential informant claimed that Abrego Garcia was an active MS-13 member. His wife and his attorney deny that, of course. Can you say with absolute certainty that he is not, nor has he ever been a member of the MS-13 gang? And did you ask him point blank?
Well, Dana, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is change the subject. The subject at hand is that he and his administration are defying a court order to give Abrego Garcia his due process rights. They are trying to litigate on social media what they should be doing in the courts. They need to put up or shut up in the courts. Let me tell you, and I decided to write this down so I could be absolutely accurate as to what Federal District Court Judge Zinnes said about these allegations by the Trump administration. Quote, "No evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any terrorist activity has been presented to the court." That's where to litigate this. It's been litigated in many other places. So I'm not going to get into the details because the whole purpose of our court system is for them to adjudicate these things, not for Donald Trump to go off on social media.
Yeah, you're right. They have not, there hasn't been a court hearing for them to put forward evidence in the first place, which is your whole point. But since you were the one person to have met with him, and since this is a thing, you say on social media, it's what we hear from Donald Trump and Republicans every day, all day long, You didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him that because I know what his answer is. What he told me was he was sad and traumatized that he was being in prison because he has committed no crimes. And that goes to the heart of this issue because he's being denied his due process rights. And Donald Trump is trying to change the subject. And, you know, when people start asking that question, in my view, they're falling into the president's trap because what the president wants to do is talk about that as if we can't all fight gang violence, which I've been doing for much longer than Donald Trump, right? His argument is you can't fight that and at the same time uphold people's constitutional rights. That's a very dangerous view. And if we deny the constitutional rights of this one man, it threatens the constitutional rights of everybody in America.
That video clip really says it all. CNN's Dana Bash asked Senator Chris Van Hollen what should have been a straightforward question. She simply asked, "Can you say for sure that Abrego Garcia is not and has never been part of MS-13? And, more importantly, did you ask him that directly?" Instead of giving a clear answer, Van Hollen danced around the question. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. Incredibly, he even admitted he didn't ask the man directly. Let that sink in. The senator flew to El Salvador using taxpayer dollars to meet this individual face to face, and somehow didn't think to ask him one of the most important questions. Are you part of MS-13? Why didn't he ask? His reasoning was almost laughable. He said, I knew what he would say. That was his defense. So now the standard is just assuming someone will tell the truth about their gang ties and that's enough. No follow-up, no checking facts. Instead of getting to the point, Van Hollen gave a long-winded political speech. He blamed Donald Trump, talked about social media, and then quoted a court document that said no evidence has been presented. But let's be clear, that doesn't mean the man is innocent. It just means the court hasn't seen proof yet. That's not the same as being cleared of wrongdoing. That's a legal loophole, not a real answer. It's also worth remembering that back in 2019, a confidential informant told police that Abrego Garcia was involved with MS-13. Even President Trump at the time pointed out specific tattoos linked to the gang. Still, Van Hollen and others in his party ignored all of that. They claimed it was just about protecting someone's legal rights. But in reality, it seemed more like they were trying to protect a narrative, not the truth. Van Hollen had every opportunity to get clear answers. He had the chance to ask the hard questions, to represent the American people, but he chose not to. Meanwhile, former ICE Director Tom Homan isn't holding back. He's reminding everyone about what's really at stake: American families, public safety, and the consequences of ignoring serious threats. Van Hollen's refusal to speak directly and honestly isn't just disappointing, it's deeply troubling. And the American people aren't blind. They see exactly what's going on.